Hello everyone. Today is our Somerset MO Club lecture number 8. Today we'll talk about geometry and statistics. Part 1, Geometry. First point, we'll talk about perimeters. First is about polygon perimeter. Perimeter, the definition for perimeter is to measure the total length of a closed figure boundary. For example, the perimeter of a polygon is the sum of the length of all sides. So here we want to talk about one important important property. For any 3 points A, B, and C on a triangle, we have an example here, A, B, and C. We have AB plus BC greater than AC. So this A, B, and C is arbitrary. So that says any of the two sides of a triangle is going to be larger. The length of the sum of the two sides is going to be larger than the third side, as we see here. And if we want to have AB plus BC equals to AC, one can imagine this B point has to approach the line of AC until B is on line of AC. So in that case, we would have AB plus BC equals to AC. But in this case, there is no triangle. So any two sides of the triangle should be bigger than the third side. Here's a sample question. Question number 1. Points A, B, C, D lie on a line in alphabetical order. If AB versus BD, the ratio is 5/7, and AC over CD is 13 versus 11. Determine the ratio AB versus BC versus CD. So we have a line, A, B, C, D lie on this line in alphabetical order. So A starts from here, goes in that direction is D. So that's fix A point right here. AB versus BD is 5 versus 7. So AB versus BD. So if this is a 5 unit, BD should be bigger than AB and the unit should be 7. So if this is 5 unit and this is 7 unit, and we have two other points C and D, so AC versus CD is 13 versus 11. So now we have to look at 5/7, that's a total of 12 units. And for these two, the ratio would add up to 24 units. So 12 versus 24 is a factor of 2. So if we say AB is 10 units, and correspondingly BD will become 7 multiplied 2, that will be 14 units. So in that case, the units of AC versus CD would be equal to the units in AB and BD. So in this case, AD versus CD is 13 versus 11. So this is 10. This would be 11. That's AC. And CD now would be 14 minus 1. That's 13 units. So we basically have a total between A and D of 24 units. Determine the ratio of AB. AB now is 10 units. BC now is 1 unit. And CD is 13 units. Now the units are all comparable. So here, this is the final answer. Question number 2. A triangle is called isosceles if two of its sides are congruent, which means the two sides are the same. The two congruent sides are called the legs of the triangle, and the other side is called the base. Suppose an isosceles triangle has a perimeter 45, and the length of each leg is twice the length of the base. What is the length of the base? Okay, we have a triangle which has two equal sides, which is called isosceles triangle. The perimeter is 45, but we don't know how long the base is, but it says the length of each leg is twice the length of the base. If the base is unit 1, the two sides are 2 units. So in total, the perimeter of this triangle is 1 plus 2 plus 2, total of 5 units. 5 units, sum them up equals to 45. So that says each unit equals to length of 9. 45 divided by 5. So the base is actually 1 unit. So the base equals to a length of 9. Question number 3. A triangle is called equilateral if all its sides have the same length. In the diagram here, all 3 triangles are equilateral. Point D is the midpoint, and point G is also at the midpoint. We want to find out the perimeter of the shape A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. Perimeter, remember, is a closed shape. So the larger triangle, the equilateral, has a length of 4. A to B, B to C. C to A is also 4, but D is midpoint, so CD is 2. AD is also midpoint, which is 2. So this is equilateral triangle. So this is 2 as well. G is at the midpoint. So this EG is 1. So EF is 1. FG is 1. AG is the midpoint, which is also 1. So now we have to add the perimeter up. AB plus BC plus CD plus DE plus EF plus FG plus GA. That's the total for the shape. Question number 4. The sides of a triangle have length of 6.5, 10, and unknown s, where s is a positive integer. What is the smallest possible value of s? So for any triangle, remember we have any 2 sides, side 1 plus side 2 should greater than the 3rd side. So smallest possible value, that could be the unknown s plus 6.5 should just be greater than 10, right? So it's a positive integer. S is a whole number. So 6.5 plus s should be greater than 10. So s at least has to be 4. Next, we want to talk about the perimeter of a circle, which is called circumference. A circle that, as we all know, that all points on that circle to the center of that circle, this distance is called radius. And this radius, any point on the circle to the center of the circle is identical. And this circle, the perimeter, is called circumference. If a circle has a radius r and diameter d, diameter is twice of your radius. If you draw a straight line across the center of the circle, that's called radius. That's twice the 2. That's 2r. And the circumference c, we can write it as 2 pi r, 2 pi multiply r, or pi multiply the d, which is the diameter. Okay, sample question number 1. Lloyd is walking his dog around the pond at the park. The pond is a circle with a diameter of 2 miles. How far does Lloyd walk if he walked all the way around the pond? So there are 2 ways of doing this. We talked about this. The perimeter or circumference of a circle, which is notated as c, you can write it as pi multiply the diameter, or 2 pi multiply the radius. So diameter is 2 and radius is half of that, so radius is 1 mile. So students can use either way to figure out the answer. Sample question number 2. What is the radius of a circle that has circumference of 54 pi centimeters? Okay, so the perimeter of that circle, C, is 2 pi multiply r, which is the radius, right? The total circumference right now is 54 pi. as we said last time, you have this equation. You want to find out what's this unknown. We can divide or multiply on each side of the equation. So let's divide 2 pi on both sides. So 2 pi over 2 pi, the left-hand side give you r equals to, and this pi cancels. This is pi divided by pi is 1. 54 divided by 2 is 27. So the radius is 27. Okay, here is the part 2 of the geometry. So we want to talk about area. First, for polygon area. We use area to measure the space or the area contained inside a figure or a shape. For example, the area of a rectangle has length L and width W. The area is L multiply W. The area of a triangle with base B and height H. We'll talk about what is base and height in a little bit. So the triangle area is 1/2 the product of B multiply H. The area of parallelogram with base B and height H. The area is just like the rectangle is the B multiply H. The area of a trapezoid with upper base A and lower base B and the height H. The area is 1/2 multiply the upper plus the lower, the sum multiply the height H. So here we have a link that student can go on online to watch for some videos that they talk about areas and the perimeters. Next, we want to talk about the area of a circle. The area of a circle with a radius r is pi r squared. Basically, is pi multiply r multiply another r. The full proof of this area definition will take some work, and in the near future, we want to give a special seminar on this, how we get to this answer. But now we hope the students will remember how to calculate the area of a circle using this. Sample number 1. Ravi and Ranu are expanding their house so that the wall has 18 feet by 8 feet before, and it will become 25 feet by 8 feet. Ravi would still want a triangle that reaches from one corner to the opposite corner, but he doesn't want to use any more paint than he used for his triangle on the old wall. Ranu says they will just keep the bottom of the triangle the same and extend the top to the new corner as shown below. Is Ranu correct? Please explain why. Okay, here is the old design. So they have the base here as 18 and the height is 8. And they use yellow to fill in the middle triangle. The area of this triangle, as we said, the definition of an area of a triangle is 1/2 multiply the base, which is 18, and the height is 8. Okay, let's define height. The height is, you have a base here, which is 18. Then you have the opposite point, which is called vertex. And from the opposite vertex, you draw a perpendicular line to the base, to the corresponding base. This is 90 degrees. The length of this line is called your height. So in this case, this rectangle is perpendicular, right? And we go from this point parallel to that line, which is also perpendicular to this base. So this line is 8. So this line will be the same as the rectangle side, which is 8. So the height is 8. For the old design, the area of that triangle is 18 multiply 4. So now we look at the new design. They still have the base as 18. We want to calculate the area, whether the two areas are the same. If they're the same, they'll use the same paint. For the new one, we have 1/2 multiply the base, which is 18. And now what is the height of the new triangle? Now we have an obtuse angle here. How do we find the height of that triangle? So you have the base, we find the corresponding vertex on the other side, we draw a perpendicular line from that point to the base. And that line just so happens to line up with the side of the rectangle, which is 8. So this line is now perpendicular to the line of the triangle base. So that's a definition for the height of a triangle. So therefore, for the new triangle, you also have 18 multiply 4 as the area. You compare the old and the new, they're the same. So they will use the same amount of paint. Sample question number 2. A median of a triangle is a segment that connects a vertex of the triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. For example, in the diagram shown below, AM is the midpoint of your section B and C. M is the midpoint. So this line is called the median of a triangle. Show that a median of a triangle divides the triangle into two pieces with equal area. So this goes back to the definition for a triangle. 1/2 multiply the base multiply height, right? So if we say we want to use BM as the base, we want to use MC as the base for triangle on the left and triangle on the right, okay? But we know that M is at the midpoint, so BM equals to MC. So the base is the same. 1/2 is the same, base is the same. Now we have to check whether the height for the two triangles are the same. Okay, how do we find the height? We have the base for B and M, okay? We find the opposite vertex, which is A. We draw a perpendicular line to B of M. You can extend B of M infinitely, okay? BM, MC, they are on the same line. So they are on the same extension of lines. Of this line, if you have a fixed point, the perpendicular line will only be one choice, which is from A to this point, which has a 90-degree angle. For both triangles, this height is the same. BM, the opposite side, vertex is A, you draw a perpendicular line, is that. If you use MC as your base, the opposite vertex is A, you draw a perpendicular line, which is still the same height. So you have the same base and the same height, therefore the median will separate any triangle into two triangles that have the same area. Sample question number 3. The ratio of the circumference of two circles is 3 versus 5. What is the ratio of their areas? Okay. Remember the perimeter of a circle circumference C equals to 2 pi multiply the radius. If the ratio of the circumferences of two circles is 3 to 5, which means for circle number 1, 2 pi over radius 1, and versus 2 pi multiply ratio number 2, this ratio is 3 over 5. On the left-hand side, we can see that 2 pi over 2 pi is 1. Therefore, it would give you ratio of R1 over R2 is 3 over 5. Now we need to look at the definition for an area of a circle. For an area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay? And for area number 1 is pi r1 squared over pi r2 squared. Pi over pi is 1. So this gives you r1 squared over r2 squared. We simply can write this one as r1 over r2 multiply another r1 over r2. We have the ratio for r1 over r2, which is 3 over 5. Multiply another 3 over 5. Therefore, it gives you a ratio of 9/25. Question number 4. If 1 gallon of paint is enough to paint the interior of a circle with diameter of 10 meters, then what is the diameter of the largest circle whose interior I can paint with 4 gallons of paint? Okay, for the first area, the diameter is 10 meters. For area of a circle, we have pi r square. Okay, so diameter of 10, so the radius is half of that, which is 5. So the area is pi multiply 5 squares. Then now I want to enlarge that circle by a factor of 4, because before I can paint with 1 gallon. Now I use 4 gallons, so I want to have, instead of 1A, I want to have 4A. So 4A now becomes 4 multiply pi 5 squared if I still use the original one. Okay, we want to find out in the form of pi r squared, what is the r with this definition on the left hand side. So this would give you pi 4 multiply 5 squared. Pi 4 is 2 squared. Now we can combine 2 multiply 5 squared. That would give you pi 10 squared. So the new radius would be of length of 10. So the diameter, therefore, would be double of that, which is 20. Question number 5. 2 quarter circles are drawn with their centers at opposite vertices of a square A and C. If the side length of the square is 6, we want to find what's the area of the shaded region in the middle. So in this problem, we want to separate this square into 2 parts. If I connect the diagonal of B and D, so now I'm separating the shaded region into 2 parts. The lower part and upper part, the 2 parts are identical. I can find out either the upper part or the lower part and then multiply 2, that would give you the final answer. So, okay, so if I trace down my line, my arc between D and B, you will find out this would be a quarter of a circle, okay? And I have the red line here, and this bottom would be a triangle. So if I use a quarter of a circle in green minus my triangle in red, I would get my answer for the shaded region of the upper part. Then I multiply that by 2, that would give me the total area. Okay, what is the total area for a quarter of a circle? So that's 1/2 pi r squared. R is 6. AD is 6. So quarter pi of 6 squared. And that area has to minus the lower triangle in red. The triangle is 1/2. The base is AB, which is 6. And the height, you go from the opposite side. This is the vertex, and then you draw a perpendicular line, and that's perpendicular. So AD is the height. So the height is 6. This would be the total, the area for the upper part of the shaded area. So then we multiply that by 2, that would give you the final answer. Quarter of a circle, the lower part of the triangle, the difference of the 2 give you this, and you multiply 2 in the end. Question number 6. In the diagram on the bottom, triangle A, B, and C is a right angle with a semicircle with a diameter AB is drawn. If AB is 20, AC is 16 and BC is 12. Then what is the total shaded area in the diagram? This question is similar to what we just seen, right? So you have the diameter. You can find out what's the radius for this half circle. And half circle, the area is 1/2 pi r squared. And for the inner triangle, you can look at the BC as your base. And then the perpendicular line AC would be its height. Then that area is 1/2, the base is BC, and the height is AC. The students can plug in all the numbers and figure out what's the final answer.